Hi. Welcome to Tales of Dread. For the past 3 days, there has been a tornado watch. What I see outside doesn't look like a tornado to me. I live in the Midwest, but I won't say where because it doesn't matter. Where I live, there are often weather warnings, especially for tornadoes. Most of the time, they happen between April and June, but it's not unusual for them to happen later in the year. Most of the time, though, they last for 3 days. It started 3 days ago. I had just come home from another boring day at work and was sitting on the couch with a beer, a microwave meal, and my small rescue dog Sam. I don't know what kind of dog she is. I was going to get a little drunk and then fall asleep in front of some bad late-night TV. When I was in the middle of my normal weekday routine, my TV and phone blared out a tornado warning. When I looked outside, I could tell it was a little stormy, but I didn't see any signs of a tornado. I got off the couch and took my dog and dinner into the basement of my house. I didn't remember to bring my beer until after I shut the door. My house and salary are both very nice. You can probably guess what that means. As I walked down the stairs, my hand moved along the wall until it reached the light switch. I knew that the power wouldn't last for long, so I turned on the generator. I double-checked, made sure I had food and water, and turned on my radio before sitting down in my old chair that I kept down here. I thought I would get at least a half hour of radio signal before the storm messed it up and washed it away. As I started to finish my dinner, the radio started to make noise. Sumner County, Kansas, residents are told to stay inside or in a storm cellar and close all windows when emergency weather alerts are sent out. Residents are also told to lock all their doors and not answer any calls for help or requests to get in until they get a signal from the police. Stay safe and good luck. What did I just say? I jumped up and almost choked on my food. I quickly leaned forward and turned down the radio's volume so I could hear the warning again. Residents are also told to lock all doors, put up barricades at other entrances, and not answer any calls for help or requests to get in until they hear an official signal. Stay safe and good. The radio finally stopped working at the same time that raindrops started hitting the roof of the rest of the upstairs. No matter what, I heard again for Sir Tender to lock all doors with barricades, seal their entrances, and not answer any calls for help or requests to get in until an official signal. In my mind, he had played again. Don't get me wrong, and don't think that this is my first time dealing with big storms or tornadoes. I was stuck in here for hours while rain, lightning, tornadoes, and hail caused havoc above me, but no one ever told me to lock my doors or not answer any calls for help or requests to come in. That was strange. At first, I thought it was possible that thieves had gone into the homes of people hiding and stolen from them. It has happened before, but never during a storm and never so much that the county had to issue a warning. Also, thieves don't try to warn people that they are there. Anyway, I did my best not to think about it, and I fell asleep a lot earlier than I would have because I was bored and had nothing to do but listen to the rain beating down on the roof. Hardly anyone can stay awake. I woke up at around 3 a.m. Sam's barking and growling at this other door. It was strange. She never barked when it was storming. She only barked when people or other dogs came to the door. I walked up the stairs and put my ears up against the door on the south side. I could only hear the heavy rain and some thunder every now and then. It was strange. The tornado should have moved on by now, but we still haven't heard for sure. I wouldn't have slept through it, though. I don't sleep well, so I turned the radio up really loud and was just about to go back to my chair when I heard the creak of my front door opening. Shit. I told myself, Damn, I forgot to lock it. Sam's barking got louder, and even though I tried to stop it, the house was quiet for a second. During this time, I put a piece of wood between the door handles, making it almost impossible to open the door from the outside. But then I heard it. It was light, but I knew it was there. I used my ears to follow them as they went around my house. It was hard to tell where they were, but I heard them walking on the carpet in my living room, going up the stairs, and going into my bedroom. As my fear grew, I looked around the room quickly. I had a sick feeling in my stomach. I felt sick with worry. I had left my gun up on the second floor and down here. The steak knives I had brought down before were the best weapons to use as a cover. I switched off the cellar light which I had stupidly left on before, and I stuck my eye in between the two southern doors that opened out into my house. Sam stopped making noise, but he was still growling. My eye scanned the small area it could see. I could see my couch, stairs, and the closed door to my bathroom. It wasn't until then that I realized the footsteps had stopped. What did the radio say about this? I thought about everything that could happen. A thief? Someone looking for a place to stay, a wild animal, or none of them at all. Then there was a knock on the door. At first, I wasn't sure if I had heard it right, but it quickly went from a quiet tapping to a loud banging. It sounded like tens of thousands of fists were pounding and thrashing against my southern door. I knew I couldn't let whoever or whatever it was in. This must have been what the radio had told him to be careful about. I jumped back and almost fell down the stairs into my cellar. Surprisingly, I was able to get myself together and yell at whatever was out there. "Just leave my house. I'm armed?" I yelled. I don't think it made much sense. The banging on my door probably started because my voice was a little shaky. Did I frighten it off? I thought to myself that it was quiet for a while, but when it spoke, the uncomfortable silence was broken. "Hey, dude, you should let me in. This area is very dangerous. I'm not sure how long I can keep going." Impossible. It was my brother's voice. I hadn't seen him for a long time. Not since he moved to California. He couldn't have been in state, and he didn't even know where I lived. I knew with every fiber of my being that the voice wasn't my brother, but something else. But I still answered. "Mark." "Yes, a long time has passed. Let me in." At the end of its sentence, it said, "I need to see you." Its voice stopped. It sounded deeper and almost raspy. Not at all my brother's voice. I was sure I couldn't answer. It spoke once more. "Look, Alec. Let me in for the love of God. It's not safe. This way. The storm is really bad." I didn't give it the satisfaction of an answer, which only made it madder. "Let me in." It screamed because it was angry. The sound came from the screen and was a high-pitched wail that filled the air and made me want to throw up. It started knocking again on the door. After that, it was quiet for a few hours, but the storm seemed to keep going on without a tornado. But I was surprised when I heard my radio start to crackle. No longer a weather emergency. Residents are told to leave their cellars empty to keep their homes safe. I gave a sigh. I believe. But I didn't feel better for long. Most of the time, at the end of a storm, the broadcast seemed strange. There would be a report of the damage in places where you could go to get help and maybe even a bed for the night. I could also still hear the rain and thunder. No signal could possibly get through. It must have somehow taken over my radio signal, because even though I didn't answer the message, My radio kept telling me every few minutes that I could leave. The same line would be said again and again with perfect sound. It made me want to pull the plug on the whole thing. Since then, it's been pretty quiet. If I wasn't afraid of missing the real end signal, I'd say it's been pretty quiet. Even though it's been 3 days, neither the storm nor my radio has stopped. That thing, whatever it is, keeps knocking on my door to remind me that I'm at my wit's end. I think I would have gone crazy by now if not for Sam. So, that's all for now. I'll try to keep you up to date until then. Good luck to me. Now that the 3rd day is almost over, I can't hear any signs that the storm is going to stop. Anyway, a lot of you gave me really good advice that I ended up using after reading my last update. I've been able to sleep a little bit here and there over the past few days. It's hard that something in my house sometimes knocks on the door and tells me to open it, and my radio plays the same message over and over again even when I'm not asleep. But I've been cleaning up the back of the cellar by digging. When I first bought this house, the previous owner told me that there was a door on the south side that led outside, but it was buried under a pile of debris because the walls on either side of the cellar had fallen down. It was strange, but I think it might be my only chance in my last post. I usually told them to try calling one of their neighbors. I have a landline store down here, so when I make the first few calls, I try to call them. I got no response. I thought that they had either left or were keeping it in their house. I was about to give up on that freaking thing outside my door, he said again. You won't be able to convince them. I can help, let me in. I will help you. I can eat and drink. You realize? Water and food. God bless, that didn't come up. I even had a couple of bags of dog food for Sam so she wouldn't go hungry. When she wasn't barking at whatever was outside the door, Sam seemed to be enjoying herself. Also, in my last post, someone said that I could use the dog to distract them while I ran after it. Even though the idea is correct, I think I wouldn't be able to do that to Sam. She has always been there for me, even though my cellar is getting old. I still kept it stocked with supplies all the time, just in case. Well, maybe not this exact situation, but one where I have to stay here for a few days. Anyway, this time, I tried one more time to call my neighbors. God bless them, they did answer. Hello, Mr. Robinson. On the phone, I try not to sound too shaky. Yes. Alec, do you need help? I paused. I couldn't tell them what was going on outside. They wouldn't believe me and would probably just tell me to go away, or Mr. Robinson would come over and possibly risk his life by touching it. I'm in a bit of a pickle. My generator is broken and I'm running out of food and water. It would be fine if I stayed with you until the storm passed. I agree, that would be fine. We still have a lot of what we need. So come on over here and knock on the door around the back of the house. We'll let you in. Okay, thank you. So, until then. I hung up, and I prayed to God that I had just talked to Mr. Robinson and not whatever the hell was out there. I had a feeling that going over there was safe, though. And since this was the thing that answered the phone, I think it would have been much more eager for me to go. Also, despite being able to change its voice much in the time between these posts, it lacked subtlety. I have also looked into what it is. I said in a comment on my last post that it could have been a win-win situation. I'll be honest, I've only heard about it in a couple of scary stories. On Wikipedia, it says that it is a creature that eats people and has some human traits. It also says that it lives in the forests of the East Coast and Great Lakes. So I'm not sure if you could get all the way to Kansas, even though I'm not sure what it is. I don't want to come into contact with it, so before I ran into my neighbor's yard, I had to figure out how to distract it. Luckily, the thing's constant banging on the door let me know it was right above me. Even though the doors kept banging, I couldn't see anything through the small gap between them. I'll tell the truth. I guess I should be grateful for that. I think I'd have a heart attack if I looked out and saw something like an eyeball looking back at me. I knew where it was, though, and that was the most important thing. For the rest of the fourth day, I dug out the back of the cellar with a small sand shovel, even though it was storming outside. In the hot Kansas weather, digging made me hot and thirsty. The work was hard, especially since I only had a few tools. Most of what I dug up was just dirt, but I did find some broken pieces of what I thought were walls that had caved in, despite the mud from the leaking ceiling and the fact that my shovel broke. I finally got the back of the cellar dug out around 6 o'clock in the evening. Now all I had to do was figure out how to get Sam and me into my neighbor's cellar without the thing finding us. I spent the next half hour setting up and getting the things I needed for my plan. Then I gave Sam dinner and made myself some minute noodles in 59 seconds. I was in a hurry to get out and do my plan as quietly as I could. I replaced the board between the cellar doors with an old piece of wood I dug up that was weak in the middle. I tied a piece of survival gear to it by tying a loop around the weakest point, and then I put some food, water, and batteries in my backpack. On top of that, I put sand in my backpack, which was a good thing because she was pretty small. Then I held the rope in one hand and my knife in the other. I used my name to find my way to the newly dug outside door, and I'm ready to run after her too. Okay, come right in. I screamed as loud as I could, opened the cellar doors on the outside, and ran away without looking back. I ran across the dry grass in my yard and jumped over the poorly kept hedge into my neighbor's yard. Then I banged on their cellar door and yelled for them to let me in. Mrs. Robinson let me in by opening the door. "Come on in, you're already soaked." Just out in the open. I jumped down into the cellar and was surprised to find that there is no light. Inside, it was almost completely dark. "Alec, you've made it to Mr. Robinson's side. We're always happy to have guests. It's a bit dark, sorry. About an hour ago, our generator stopped working. It's good. Really better than not having anything to eat," I said. "Just happy to be away from it." "Yeah, I bet. Also, Mark, when was the last time you saw your brother?" "What are you saying? He walked in just now?" It looked like it was wondering where you were. After a short time of calm, I started to sweat and my adrenaline started to pump again. "Is he around?" "Hello, Alex.